According to sociologist W.I. Thomas, if a person perceives a situation as real, it is real in its consequences. In other words, our behavior depends not only on the objective reality of a situation, but on our subjective interpretation of reality. John Searle said, "In a sense, there are things that exist only because we believe them to exist. In this way, we are co-creators of our collective reality." If we read our current reality to be threatening to the future of our children, our planet, then the social realities that have been constructed can be replaced by other social realities that will contribute to an ever-advancing civilization. Because social realities owe their existence to common human understanding, we have the power to reshape them. Perpetual growth is proclaimed by governments and politicians, but can economic growth be sustainably achieved? The short answer is no. In the book Valuing the Earth: Economics, Ecology, Ethics, economic growth is constrained by the global ecosystem and therefore limited by finite resources of that system. No amount of technological breakthrough or creative accounting can counter that physical fact. The concept of a steady-state economy, which considers population issues, renewable and equitable distribution of resources, and a limited use of energy, is critically needed, but everywhere ignored, especially by those in political power. Culture is a word for people's way of life, meaning the way groups do things. Culture is constructed by collective thought. In 1955, American economist Victor Lebow wrote the article Price Competition. Some call this the consumer version of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. Victor Lebow lays out a battle plan for a materialistic crusade in military religious terms. This and other documents from the mid-20th century reveal consumerism was encouraged and engineered by the business community. Advertising was the main instrument to create consumerism as a way of life. But what kind of life does consumerism offer? It is a way of life that can never be satisfied. The need for more is endless. Consumerism made the buying and use of goods into a kind of ritual, a significance that goes beyond the mere purchase of goods. The culture of consumerism seems to replace spiritual aspirations. With consumerism, aspirations and individuality are expressed in terms of what a person wears, drives, eats, not whether or not he or she is a good person, contributing positively to social development. Consumerism is successful with advertisements that constantly push us to eat, drink, dress, ride, live, with ever more complicated and, therefore, constantly more expensive consumption. Few will disagree that the last 70 years was a complete success for the materialistic crusade. We now see two dominant features of contemporary culture: perpetual growth and consumerism. These ideas are not natural outcomes of civilization. They are a recent part of a constructed culture. Our culture seems natural, yet it was deliberately constructed. Thomas Homer Dixon, a Canadian political scientist, wrote that consumerism helps us against the emptiness and dread of a materialistic life. A vicious cycle of consumption substitutes for a spiritual life, he sadly comments. The Bahá'í community challenges the common assumption that human beings are slaves to self-interest and consumerism. The culture of consumerism has tended to reduce human beings to competitive, insatiable consumers of goods and to objects of manipulation by the market. Alternatives to consumerism exist. Joshua Becker, author of the book The More of Less, has proposed ideas to live more by owning less. Becker writes, "It is time to rethink our spending habits, rediscover thoughtfulness and intentionality in our purchases, and remind ourselves that happiness is not on sale at the department store. Buying more is not the solution. We were made for greater pursuits than material possessions, and our lives should reflect that truth." Some ways to change habits of consumerism include: stop and reevaluate. Look at the life you have created. Are you finding the time, money, and energy for the things that matter most? Stop copying other people. Just because your neighbors, classmates, and friends are chasing a certain style of life does not mean you need to as well. Look deep into your motivations. Advertisers play on our motivations by appealing to our desires in subtle ways. Purchase only what you need to more effectively accomplish your unique role in this world. Everything else is only a distraction. The faculties needed to construct a more just and sustainable social order. Moderation, justice, love, reason, sacrifice, and service to the common good have too often been dismissed as naive ideals. Yet, it is these and related qualities that must be harnessed.